Okay, so you've heard of Whoop, right? They're a multi-billion-dollar giant in the health tech world. The big question is, how could a small team, a startup, ever actually compete with them? Well, let's dive in and map out a real-world playbook for taking on this titan.
Everything really starts with this number right here, $359. That's what Whoop charges every single year for their top-tier subscription. Now think about that. It's a pretty steep price to pay over and over again just to get insights from your own body. And you know what? That's our opening. That's where the opportunity begins. And this leads us to the billion-dollar question. I mean, millions of us, you, me, we already have these incredibly powerful sensors strapped to our wrists. We've got Apple Watches, Garmins, Pixel Watches. So what if the real game changer isn't building another piece of hardware, but building a much smarter brain for the hardware we already have? To figure that out, we're going to break this whole thing down into 5 parts. First, we'll take a close look at Whoop's empire. Then we'll talk about why getting into a hardware war is just an unwinnable fight. After that, we'll lay out the software-first playbook, and I mean the exact tech stack you'd use to build it. And finally, we'll look at what all this means for the future of wearables. All right, so first up, let's get a really clear picture of the titan we're talking about here. What exactly is it that makes Whoops so dominant in the first place? At its heart, Whoop's success really comes down to these 3 simple pillars: sleep, recovery, and strain. It's this elegant little feedback loop, right? It tells you how well you slept, how ready your body is for the day, and then how much you've pushed yourself. And honestly, it is incredibly effective at keeping users completely hooked. And here's where you see their whole model in action. It's totally vertically integrated. I mean, they design their own proprietary sensor, they build a super advanced app, they lock all your data behind that subscription fee, and they even pioneered this screen-free anywhere tech, so you can track data even when it's not on your wrist. The key word here is control. They control everything from start to finish. So you might be thinking, okay, the obvious move is just to build a better wristband, right? Wrong. That is a trap, my friend, and it has swallowed countless startups whole. Let's dig into exactly why that is. Trying to build competitive hardware is like trying to lay siege to a fortress. I mean, you're talking millions upon millions in R&D just to develop your own custom sensor. You have to navigate these unbelievably complex global supply chains. And hey, if you want fancy features like an ECG, get ready to go through the whole grueling FDA and medical clearance process. And on top of all of that, people now expect the battery to last at least 5 days, and the new Whoop is promising up to 14. It's a massive hill to climb. So the bottom line is this. For a small team that's focused on software, trying to build competitive hardware from the ground up, it's just a non-starter. It is a completely different game with different rules, and you are almost certainly going to lose. So if you can't win the hardware war, what do? You change the battlefield. Let's explore how we can shift this whole fight away from hardware and onto our home turf, software. This slide just lays out the strategic pivot perfectly. On the left, you've got Whoop's locked-down, closed ecosystem. But on the right, that's the challenger model, a software-only aggregator. It doesn't care what device you wear. It just wants to be the brain that processes all that rich data. And this is what we call the Any Wearable app. The whole goal is to become the intelligence layer that sits on top of all these existing sensors. You tap into Apple's Health Kit and Android's Health Connect to pull in all this great data like HRV and sleep stages. And actually, this is where a key developer constraint pops up. On iOS, Health Kit is super mature and standardized, so you get clean, reliable data. But on Android, Health Connect is newer, and you have to deal with way more fragmentation across all the different device makers. So that means more work just to make sure the data is consistent. Okay, so how can a small team actually build this thing? Well, it really comes down to 2 super important choices: picking the right code base and having a really smart AI strategy. Let's get into the blueprint. To build this for both iOS and Android without a massive team, a hybrid strategy is absolutely the way to go. You'd use a framework like Flutter for the UI, all the beautiful charts, the journaling features, calling out to APIs. You write that code once, and it runs everywhere. But, and this is key, for the really heavy lifting, like the background data syncing from HealthKit and Health Connect, you go native. You use Swift for Apple and Kotlin for Android. This gives you the best of both worlds. You get to develop fast, but you still have that rock-solid performance where it counts. And that's really the magic of this whole approach. You get the incredible speed and cost savings of a cross-platform framework for, say, 80% of your app.
But you don't have to sacrifice that bulletproof, battery-efficient performance you absolutely need for the most critical part, getting that health data off the device reliably. Now, to truly outsmart the competition, you need a two-tier AI brain. First, you have on-device AI. This is for all the fast, private, offline stuff, like detecting your activity in real time. Then you have your cloud AI. This is for the heavy-duty processing, like personalized coaching and digging deep into long-term predictive analytics. This right here is the secret weapon. The on-device AI can automatically detect that you started a workout, no cloud needed. But for the really complex questions like, hey, why am I so tired this week? That's when the cloud-based LLM kicks in. It can analyze all your long-term data, look at your journal entries, and give you a personalized conversational answer. Now that is the kind of deep, actionable insight that goes way beyond just tracking data. It's what makes an app truly indispensable. So what does this all mean for the big picture? This entire strategy, bypassing hardware, using a smart hybrid codebase, and leveraging this two-tier AI, it all points to a really fundamental shift happening in the health tech market. This quote from our source material really just says it all, doesn't it? The winning strategy isn't about silicon and plastic anymore. The real competition is no longer about who can build the most accurate sensor. It's about who can build the most insightful, the most predictive, and the most personalized software experience on top of those sensors. Which leaves us with this final, provocative question to think about. As the hardware itself becomes more and more of a commodity, is the future of health tech really about the device on our wrist, or is it about the software that truly, deeply understands us? The race is on, folks, not for the best sensor, but for the smartest brain.